So I made a big boo-boo just earlier. Yeah, I pushed the button. So, last week, Thursday? Yeah, Thursday. All of last week, the forecast said for this week that it's just going to be rain all week, really bad. But my tomatoes and all that were getting way too big for my little propagation area. And it was basically leave my tomatoes where they are and run the risk of them starting to become diseased because there's not enough space for them in their propagation area. And they'd stay for another couple of weeks. But at that point, their rate of growth is starting to really pick up because it's starting to warm up now. Or put them out and just basically try and keep an eye on them and mitigate the chances of sun scald because they hadn't quite been hardened off a little bit, and try and protect them from the rain if there was going to be a lot of rain. So I just ran to gamble and put them out. So that's what I did. But to be fair, because of the forecast, I wasn't too worried about sun scald. It was more the too much rain, the soil being way too damp, and the tomatoes becoming diseased from that. So anyway, it was a rush to plant them out, and I thought I'd record it and make a video about it, which was all well and good. But then I went to transfer the files onto my laptop, and then as I was transferring the files, I went off and did something else because sometimes it can take quite a while. So I was like, I'll do that, go do other stuff around the house, and then came back, grabbed my camera, didn't actually check the laptop, and then reformatted the disk for the camera. And then later on, a couple of days later, well, actually a few days ago, when I went to go start editing some other stuff, I realized that it didn't fully transfer all the files because something happened in between, and I only transferred about 3 of the clips. So I lost all that footage. And the plan was to plant out, talk about the tomatoes I'm planting, planted out a few other bits and pieces, and yeah, lost it all. So, hey, my man.
Hello.
Hello. Oh, and Mr. Dre.
Hello.
So in this bed I've planted my Black Krims. On this side, this is the Black Krims. They are... Yeah, it's a flower, leave it. Don't pick it. The Black Krim originated from Crimean Peninsula along the Black Sea. That's how it got named the Black Krim. They're a beefsteak tomato, which grows really large, and they grow like this to become like a burgundy, sort of browny, reedy purple color. Quite cool. On this side, I've got my Sicilian sauces, which is an Italian heirloom. And then in this bed, I've got a Golden Cascade, which is a cherry tomato. And these are Siberians. They are, well, the name's pretty much self-explanatory. They're called the Siberian tomato because they can grow in really cool temperatures, down to as low as 4 degrees, which I think is like 36 Fahrenheit. You can bear fruit. They are fast yielders, so they're really good for your shoulder season. So like early spring going into summer, at the end of summer going into winter, if you plant them right, you can get a really late harvest of tomatoes right before the harder winter hits you. I love beefsteaks. Beefsteaks are so good on toast. That's why I'm growing them. Carla's not a tomato person, she hates tomatoes. So basically, these 5 plants, all for me. But the beefsteak is an indeterminate, meaning that it will keep growing until either disease or a frost kills it off, a change of season kills it off. You know, it's a vine type tomato. So as the tomato grows and gets bigger, at the axis or the joint or the leaf node of the petiole, a little shoot will start to develop. that in itself can become its own tomato plant. If you were to cut that once it's a little bit bigger, put some rooting hormone on it, or even just put it straight into some soil in a humidity dome, you could grow another tomato plant. But as these indeterminates grow and they start to grow the suckers, ideally you want to prune them off so it can keep putting all its energy into that one main stem. Otherwise you can let it grow all the suckers and it becomes this unruly vine. And there's debate whether trimming the suckers off hinders fruit yield or improves it. I'm interested to see what this one here turns out like, because the leaflets of the petiole or the compound leaf, so tomatoes have a compound leaf, whereas most plants you have the petiole, which is the stem that comes from the main part of the plant, and then you have your leaf blade with the veins and everything. Tomatoes, they have the petiole that starts, and then it goes into a compound leaf, and you have all your leaflets that come off them, ending with a terminal leaf. Now there's two different types. You have your ones that end with a terminal leaf and the ones that don't. But if you look at these leaflets compared to the other ones, they're a little bit different. This one started to develop its suckers faster, and it's already starting to put out buds. So either I've mixed up my seeds, and this potentially could be a Siberian because they do yield faster, or a rogue seed ended up in my Black Krim seed packet, which would be cool either way. With indeterminate sizes, they'll keep growing up. So the plan is I've staked them now just while they establish themselves, but eventually I will build a frame off each side of these beds and up and over. And then from there, strings will come down to each of these, to which I'll train the determinants to go up. A determinant tomato, on the other hand, is a bush type. You can just use a cage or a stake like this just to help support the weight once it starts to bear fruit. There's other methods like the Florida weave, where you have two stakes on either end, and basically as the plants get bigger and bigger, you weave twine through them at each stages of its growth to help support the plant as it gets bigger. Or you can use a net style, much like you do with your beans, net trellis, and just train the tomato up through it. But I'm going to stick with putting frames on these beds. I'm going to put one on each side and eventually do all the beds so they're just there for, just because they're there. And I'll use a string down and I'll train the plant up the string. Potentially I've got these guys a little bit too close with each other, being indeterminates, and then possibly getting so big. But if I actively prune them all the time and keep on top of the maintenance, it should be okay, because tomatoes need airflow. Otherwise they will get diseased and just turn to crap on you. But essentially these are sourcing tomatoes, because as they fruit, the fruits themselves have more flesh than seed and are generally better for sourcing. Really, you can source any tomato. It's just, again, you end up with more seeds, like the beefsteaks. There's a lot of seeds in beefsteaks. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 6 Sicilians that will go to sourcing. The Golden Cascade fruits like crazy. So if you've got kids that love tomatoes and love little cherry tomatoes, one of these would be really good. Little yellow tomatoes. So I've got one of these here. I've currently grown, I've germinated another 12 Golden Cascades for one of my experiments down the track. With these guys, I've planted all my marigolds. Wait, thank you. I needed that. You're a very good help. What?
Smile.
Smile. Oh, smile for the camera. So you got my marigolds. In particular, you want the French marigold, because I can't remember the word, I'll put it on the screen, but the roots themselves, for lack of better words, let out a compound within the soil that deters pests. The plant itself has a particular scent to it, which will help with deter pests, and it's a beautiful flower, which will bring on pollinators. I've planted some red cabbage on that side. I don't particularly know why. That probably wasn't the best placement for them. I might have to move them. Now, in between the tomatoes on that bed, I've got a couple of broccoli as well. My plan is that as these get bigger, I'm going to plant winter vegetables around them, trying to keep them cool and out of the sun. Basically, they probably will fail. I'm going to see how far I can push plants within this garden and learn how things work and all that sort of stuff. That's basically what you should do in your garden. It's your own science experiment. Push plants, see how well they grow. Grow plants that shouldn't be grown in that particular season and see what happens. You never know, you might surprise yourself. And then in this bed, and that bed there, I've planted out my capsicums that I started growing last summer. and I put them in a bucket to see how long I could keep them. I've managed to keep them alive through winter, just because the cats insist on using the buckets as a litter box, basically diseasing the soil, and it's given the plants themselves leaf curl, which is a type of fungal disease, which you can treat with copper oxide, which is like a spray, a bluey green spray, but that didn't necessarily work. So I've got them out now, I put them in, and at each leaf node, they're starting to produce new leaves. So as it starts to establish itself a little bit more and the new leaves that are coming through get a little bit bigger and are able to photosynthesize themselves, I'm going to trim off the rest of these ones that have the leaf curl and hopefully let the new growth come through, and they'll be good. Capsicums, like your peppers, your chilies, all those, everyone seems to think they're annuals. They're not annuals. You can overwinter them. You can potentially get them to keep growing season after season. So with these and a couple of peppers that I've got growing, at the end of summer next year when it starts to cool down, I will dig these up, put them into containers again. I'll trim off all the old leaves, basically putting it back into a dormant state. I'll put them inside in the carport and overwinter them again, protecting them from the frost and keeping them warm, keeping them alive. And then as it goes into spring again, I'll put them back out, new growth will come through. Basically doing this, the plant itself's already quite well established, and it will set fruit way faster compared to someone that started their capsicums or chilies or peppers, whatever, from seed for that season. Oh, this is nice. I don't have to crouch. And on this bed along the fence with the net trellis, I've done all my runner beans. These ones here are called King of the Blues. It's a blue bean. And then on the other side of me is a yellow bean. And then in this bed, I've got my bush beans, which is Calanino bean. I did start them off inside in seed trays because I figured if I could get them started while I was building these beds, I could basically just put them out and they're good to go instead of building these beds and then having to plant them, direct sow them, which generally with runner beans you do direct sow them. And the King of Blues really proved that you should really just direct sow them, because basically within 24 hours they germinated and started to sprout, and 24 hours later they'd already grown by about another 6 inches. It was insane. The growth on these guys are ridiculous. You alright?
This one they go down.
You fell down, yeah, because you kept slamming the gate.
Go down.
Yeah.
The gate.
Blue beans, along with like your red cabbages, blueberries, any plant or veggie that has that pigment to it, comes from a compound called anthocyanin, which is an antioxidant, a very good antioxidant too. Colour your veggie garden. Have all these types of plants, your blueberries, your blue beans, blue broccoli, red cabbage, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So this half of the bed is all bush beans, and then yesterday I had to plant out my cucumbers because once again one of the cats decided to use my propagation area as a litter box and destroyed a few of the seedlings, destroyed a lot of the seedlings I was starting for my sister. And basically I needed to get these guys out because I'm pretty sure she peed in all these trays with these cucumbers, so I needed to get them out and into new soil. Yeah, bud.
Helicopter gone.
And the helicopter's gone.
Helicopter gone.
Yeah. Basically with cucumbers, you can plant direct sow them and they'll do fine. So if anyone out there has a really good idea on how to stop my cats from using my seedling trays and all my pot plants as litter boxes, that'd be much appreciated. Since the last video you would have seen was when I filled these guys up and got them ready. I've used a barley straw this time around. Last season I used pea straw, but it was full of pea seeds, and I had sprouts everywhere, which isn't a bad thing. Pea sprouts are really good in salads if you get them young enough and they're like that big. So I was just, every day I'd go through, pick out a heap of pea sprouts and put it in a salad. Made for a really yummy lunch. But basically the point of using the straw is to insulate the soil or protect it from the sun as we go into summer, or if you use it over winter, it helps insulate the soil for the plants. It will snuff out any weeds that want to come through. It eliminates that, and it retains moisture over summer as well. Stops the soil from drying out so quick. And with the tomatoes themselves, because tomatoes are very prone to disease, and if you have a lot of rain or if you're watering with just a hose, ideally you want to water at the base of the tomato. If you do, soil splash that goes back up on the underside of leaves, you're going to end up with disease. So doing that as well mitigates that sort of thing too. Sowed a heap of blue flowers like borage and a few others. I can't remember the names. I will learn the names of the flowers as the more I use them. But basically bees see in the ultraviolet spectrum, so they can see blues and violets and all that sort of stuff, and they're attracted to it. So they'll bring the bees here, and a lot of other pollinators as well as butterflies and moths. Some moths are really good for your garden, just not the cabbage moth. That guy can, yeah. Soon we'll have the flowers out, and soon we'll have a lot more vegetables out. And over in that corner over there, I'm going to rotary hoe that whole corner, turn that dirt in and plant a heap of corn there. Along the fence line here, I'm going to be doing a little experiment with a few pumpkin plants. There'll be another video soon. In that corner itself there this year, I will just plant a heap of flowers. Next year, hopefully I'll get my hands on a few manukas, and I've started growing some flax from seed myself. It's a harakeke, it's a native flax here in New Zealand. And that corner will be a native corner. So a lot of work ahead. I've got a lot of cleaning up to do because of all the produce I've been doing. There's a lot of just offcuts of timber and other bits and pieces lying around. So there's going to be a lot of dump runs in the next few weeks to... Oh no. What are you doing? Why would you do that? Where'd you get that from? Yeah. Bad. And on that note, I'll see you in the next video. I'm going to go sort Bailey out.